It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Rise and stand for the allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment this time? Seeing none, we'll move to the first item on the agenda, Chief Schaefer discussing Progress Park security matter.
I know we've been here before and we have discussed this. I guess I'm just going to put my plug back in again for the need for cameras up around the park area. We've had a couple of instances where there was an altercation up there. If we'd had the cameras up there, I think it would have given us a better picture of what took place. The other thing that, and I have not had a specific complaint from parents, and this might not necessarily have anything to do with the cameras, but something that maybe needs to be addressed in some way, is that there have been older kids hanging around on the playground equipment where the little kids can't, or whatever. I guess I don't know what the answer is. The only thing that I can think of is if we have volunteers up there, basically kind of hanging around, during the time that people would be up there, I mean, other than parents. Only because if these older kids want to be a little bit belligerent or whatever, I know that, some of these parents of these younger kids aren't, might not have enough in them to say, hey, you know what, you need to knock it off, whatever. I guess, and again, I'm not saying we need to have it done right now. I guess what I'm looking at, and I would be more than happy to, is to look and see if we couldn't go and get a grant to pay for, part of it, or, some of it, whatever, like we did with the cameras that we had in the police department through the community foundation. I think because of where it's at and what it's for, I think we'd have a pretty good chance of, maybe getting some money out of that. But I guess it's something that I would just like the council to look into. It's not necessarily a case of worrying about vandalism, but basically the overall safety of the park area. I'm sure that those, cameras, if there's any problem, I mean, because of the residences being across from there, that they could be positioned as such so it isn't looking at the residences, it's just looking down over the park area. So, but I would just like you to take that into consideration. Any questions?
When we looked at this before, we were primarily concerned with the pool area, right?
Yeah. Well,
and we had one option that was
I think possibly
possibly
the parking lot. Yes, I think the parking lot part of the pool area. I don't know if we were actually looking at the, from my knowledge, the cameras wouldn't be actually looking into the pool. It would be the area outside of the pool, the fence, along the fenced area or whatever, because of the vandalism that we had done. So, okay.
Well, Bob, a question I had, I guess I don't quite understand. You said there's older kids hanging out on the equipment. I mean, were they actually doing something to scare the kids, or the people were intimidated and not willing to go? Because I'm down there at tennis, and there's a lot of people using the courts, the basketball and everything, and they're just doing their thing down there. And I guess again, that's more later afternoon, and I don't know what time you're talking about, but I know there's a lot of people down there, but they're just playing ball and skateboard, and I'm more concerned about a lot of the kids. They don't really pay attention with a lot of the cars driving back and forth. You got to be careful that someone didn't get run over. But I guess I don't understand what the cameras, or I guess I don't understand how cameras are going to help if people are just afraid to go play on the playground because there's somebody just sitting there really not doing anything. I guess if they're not doing anything that bad, right. What are you saying? What are we supposed
Basically,
to do?
kind of two different things. The cameras, as far as the altercation and that kind of stuff that happens down there. That's what I'm looking at there. The other thing is, like I said, it wasn't even a parent that came up to me. I got this information secondhand that there were some older kids just basically hanging around on the playground equipment, old enough that it's not sized for them, and so therefore you know, the little kids wouldn't go up and play because the older kids were there. So I mean, and as far as the cameras, that would have nothing to do with that.
Okay.
I'm just bringing some of those things to the attention.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've had personal experience down there with the grandkids, and Bob is right. Those older kids are bullying the little kids, and they're all
Okay.
over that play equipment, and the little kids are just looking at them because, you know, they're middle school kids, and they're walking up the slide that's about this long. And I
Right.
go, why are you doing this? I was after him the whole time I was
Okay.
down there. And why are you doing this? You're not gonna slide down this slide. Oh, yeah, I am. Well, his feet hit the ground before he could get his rear end on the slide. I mean, it was really ridiculous. And I said, you guys are gonna ruin this for the little kids. And I said, when it's ruined, it's gone. And they know me at school anyway. And I'm Nurse Ratchet, so they listen.
No,
Yeah,
that
I
makes
just- I'm
sense,
not gonna
because
put up
like I
with
said,
it.
you know, if it's one thing, they're just like sitting there, but like I said, if they're bullying then I think, yeah, they
They
need to
are.
be talked to by the police.
Yeah, yeah. And then there are, the other flip side of this are some older kids, and like, there's been some, both Hispanic and white girls, and they're teaching the kids how to roll down the hill, you know, and they're having fun things like that. But these are older boys that should not be on it. And I can give you their names. No, but,
Well, and
And
I
then
think we
another-
should give
yeah,
their names and they should be talked to.
There's
Cameras are one thing, but they need to be talked to
I
and
already
and
talked to
told,
them, and they
this is
left
what it is.
pretty quickly. Then they have those little scooter things, what do you call those? They're big, well, not big kids, like this kid's probably third grade, and they sit clear down on them. Are they battery operated? And he's got the wheel in that peat gravel and just spinning it, so the gravel's flying out all over.
I don't think that they're battery operated. I mean, again, that, they can't be on sidewalks, roads, whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know how we'd want to handle that as far as being in the park, but I guess I wouldn't think that they would need a vehicle or a, you know, thing like
Little
that in
thing,
the park.
no. And
That
I was
is what
afraid
the
he was
skate
going to
park's
hit
for.
some of the littler kids that
Right.
were down there, but.
How can they get there with it if it's,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, so I took care of that while I was down there that day, so you need a volunteer, I could do some days, not every day, but, I mean, it's to the point where it is, it's really pretty ridiculous for those kids to be doing that.
So, okay. Any other questions?
I was wondering, could we do any type of like public awareness ads on the radio or in the newspaper to start off with? You know, volunteers are a great idea. If we could get enough, that would be super, but if we could just make it aware, you know, if you have problems down there, this is such a positive. I mean, every time I drive by there, I still just smile because it's such a difference from when it was before. If we could make some type of awareness that contact your law enforcement or, you know, go stand up. You know, there's laws against bullying.
Right.
Well, I think we'd certainly make it clear that, you know, that type of behavior won't be tolerated and encourage folks that if they see that they should report it, just as Diane has done. And, you know, if they are able to identify the individuals, please do, so that they can be talked to. Because that behavior shouldn't be tolerated.
Right.
Cameras are not.
Right.
So,
And whether the police or, like I said, I would be glad to go down there and, you know, like depending on what time frame of the day
This is
that's
probably
going on, go
around-
down and talk to the kids myself.
Yeah, we walked down, it was probably around 3:34
On a weekend, I think it's
until, no, this was during the week,
Weekdays?
I
on
think it's
Monday.
more so
On
after,
Monday.
right after school, I think, probably
Yeah, I
is
think
what's
that's,
going
yeah.
on.
And when they're starting to have their ball games down there and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Have the pool manager go down and talk with
Hey,
them.
I got no problem.
I just put a sign up there about Nurse Ratchet, you know, stop it.
Yeah, there you go. She's watching you.
My thought is if there's a camera up there, you know, they get to know that there's a camera up there, it's like, you know what? So, anyway, okay,
No,
thank you.
Okay, in that case, maybe a demo camera is adequate. Deter somehow. How do they know?
you just told them.
Well, Nurse Ratchet's not gonna say anything.
What's the thought? Anything else on that particular item? You guys wanna see anything move forward with that? Is there anything at all? You wanna do it? Discuss it later?
I just think if we could start off with just some type of public
Public
awareness.
awareness.
aiming a sign down there. This is not going to, you know, it's not going to
No bully zone.
That's right.
Maybe the
I
chief
mean-
should get some, excuse me.
Oh, that's right. No, but that's, I agree, I mean, really.
Maybe encourage the chief to get a couple of prices on a camera. If you decide this doesn't work, it makes you that much ahead of the game, you've got something established.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to get cost estimates and things like that.
What about working through the school system? You said they're middle school age kids. Work with the school system and let the middle school know that this is happening. Ask for their help. To say
Before
something.
summer starts, it's a good
Yeah,
idea.
and they're still in school now.
Absolutely. If there's no other comments or questions on that, we'll move on to the next item. Discussion of city brush disposal. Ron or Doug, you guys want?
Go ahead. Okay. All right, well, first of all, I apologize, I missed the last meeting that you guys had. Apparently there was some conversation that took place at the last meeting. Home with the sick wife, and I was playing Nurse Ratchet, so it was my turn. I was the nurse that day, so that worked out well. But anyway, when I returned, Ron had discussed some conversations he's had and some information, shared some information about the sorting of the wood and such. And since then, I've had a meeting with the compost site staff, and I've met with Randy from the street department, talked to street department staff, and we've done a few things where we kind of know where we're going to put logs at that have been cleaned. I've sent some information on the radio station. One of the things that where we're at right now is we've had such an accumulation of it, especially after that snowstorm too. We had a lot of branches and stuff come down. Quite honestly, we don't see any way to start real positive and make any good effect on things down there unless we do another grinding this year. I just don't think there's any other alternative other than to bring in the big grinder and try to at least start fresh. One of the thoughts too that had come up was, and that's after Randy and I discussed that a little bit, what we are trying to do, we did take the city's chipper and shipper truck down this last week. We provided compost site staff with a little training. They've been trying to pull some of the smaller stuff out of that big pile and start chipping a little bit using our small chipper. You know, they're basically been directed just to work on it as time allows when, you know, they're not extremely busy with traffic coming in and out. And that's kind of some of the thought process going along. We'll at least try to do some of that. We know we can get rid of those wood chips easy. The county conservation likes them, park staff like them. So that's kind of where we're at now, but, you know, to take it a little further, you know, during Ron and I's discussion, it was brought up about sorting wood species. You know, I don't know that is going to be all that easy to do with staff that we have available, and talk with the compost site staff. You know, we're all gonna, we would need some pretty significant training for people to come in and tell us what species is what. Same way for the 3 guys that work out there, you know. That'd be a little harder than just kind of sorting. Right now, even sorting is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us. When people bring their trees and brush out to the compost site, they may bring in the same load, all mixed together, a huge pile of leaves, huge pile of grass clippings, huge pile of some trees blended in with it, or who knows what. And it makes it really difficult for staff to sort through that type of thing and to have people, you know, put it in the proper location. It's a little bit harder than like picking up recycling when, you know, you're doing a glass bottle or a can or what have you. But it just seems to be that that might be a little bit more difficult for us to manage. It's going to be, like I said, we're going to be doing well if we can get them to sort. And right now what we're doing is anything 6 inches and larger need to be clean logged and stored accordingly. And we have a place out there to try to do that. For our own staff, and talking with Randy and the guys, when we're taking down city trees in the winter time or when there's frost in the ground, which is typically when they're working on those type things, it's gonna make it a lot more, it's gonna take a lot longer to achieve what we would normally achieve by not doing that. And quite frankly, I think if you started putting the pad and pencil down with how much it's gonna cost and the amount of time extra time it's gonna take to do that for our staff, as opposed to what it would cost to bring the grinder in, I don't know what's gonna be money ahead. I mean, I could sure start trying to keep track of that and taking a harder look at it, but, you know, we're trying really hard to look at all options to see what there is, and unfortunately the options are limited, as we all know, and Ron and I have tried to talk, you know, we've talked to the Jason Gooder again, and really kind of expressed it to Jay Waddingham too, that, and we all agree, we all want a place to burn, you know, because that's the easiest and cheapest solution for all of us if we can find a good location. But unfortunately, we don't have that right now. So just kind of interested to hear maybe more in tale of what your expectations are. You kind of know maybe where we're coming from. I've asked Randy to be here. Jim's here. If you got questions, you know, these guys are the ones that are handling it every day too. But I mean, that's some of the take that I'm getting and some of the feedback I'm getting from staff. And so that's what I'm here for, is to try to be, you know, a little bit of a voice there too.
Okay, so we're now, the goal is to separate the brush and logs. And we haven't been doing that in the past, and so we're gonna start doing that. But the problem is that for Randy and the guys to go out there for the huge amount that is all heaped up right now and mixed up,
Right.
for them to try and sort that to start,
Right.
that will take
Oh yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, fuel and
It really
equipment
would.
use. So what you're saying is to start with a clean slate, grind it all, get everything out, and then anything that's brought in from that point, it gets, if the customer doesn't separate it, then city staff gets it separated and stays ahead of it.
Tries to. Yeah.
Do you think they can stay ahead of it? Randy?
It'd be close, because a lot of people just wanna bring in a whole load and just dump it there and walk away. And that's
Yeah,
your problem.
And that's the way it was. I volunteered out there for the first little bit when we had that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened when we were out there. They could care less where it went as long as they got rid of it and got it off their trailer.
Yeah. It'd be a challenge. I mean, I'm not gonna kid you. Like I said, if we try to start keep track of some of the time it's gonna take, and then if we get a storm, if we get a windstorm or we get something, there's no way we're gonna have to. I mean, we're just gonna be forced into having big accumulations. Either that, or it's gonna take us a lot longer to clean up. So we'll try anything, like I said, but you know, we want to have some common sense to it. Whereas, you know, it's just tough, you know.
Well, and then, okay, as far as the species, Dick and I were talking about separating burnable, like burnable wood, some type of woods that would be desirable to people to burn versus junk wood. And, you know, kind of separating that out, if there would be any, you know, any demand for the good burnable wood, but it's just, basically it's more time keeping that separate. As far as grinding, just from a financial standpoint, of course, we haven't budgeted to do more grinding of brush. And I also touched on this during budget time, that we're gonna have to figure out if we wanna do more grinding of brush, other than brushing the leaves, the leaf pile. If we wanna brush or grind brush and wood, we have to figure out where that revenue is gonna come from. Because the revenue stream that we're getting from the 50 cents on the water bill is not gonna cover that. It barely covers the
We just barely got in
cost
this
of
year.
the employees. So, well, that's another issue too.
Right.
Jim?
Two quick little points, what Doug is getting at. Right now, we've got since we've had no other alternatives, we've got people that are coming in with a little basket full of sticks, goes in the brush pile. Somebody comes in with branches, it goes in the brush pile. If they've got logs, we can tell them. But now we've got a huge pile, as Randy can attest, a huge pile of branches and twigs and sticks. I chipped today, and it's a zoo trying to pull anything out of there that's chippable. You know, you can't chip little tiny stuff. But that's what we've got, is a huge big pile of that. And I really don't know what to do with that stuff. And even if we do sort branches, and this guy comes in with a little bit of sticks out of his yard, are we gonna have to separate that? Because that won't go through the chipper, it's gonna spit it right out. It'll plug it up, there's little stuff, I found that out, that little stuff will plug it up. It's no good. So now we got 3 issues: logs, branches, sticks. We're in a dilemma.
We kind of have gotten in this situation because of the burning of large logs. And the volume of large material that goes out there, we take out, don't we? I mean,
Or the
as a
contractor.
city staff, or the contractor. So if we focused on what you're doing now, if we focused on you guys making that determination before you load up and let contractors know that's the way they need to take it out, the citizens, there's no way to control that. But if we try that, that could help, couldn't it? Without a huge amount of expense. And have those major pieces separated. I understand what you're saying with the general public. Fortunately, the general public isn't, most of the general public don't even have the equipment to bring the big stuff out.
Yeah, they're not bringing the ginormous stuff.
You know, my question is, what did they do before we took it at the compost site? Where did the contractors go with it then?
Well, I couldn't tell you, Steve.
Well, I
you know.
expect, knowing Hamilton for as many years as I've known him, he's taking it home and burning it. That's what he used to do when I was a kid.
Sure.
So, you know, maybe it's to the point that we're gonna have to take and tell contractors that, hey, you're gonna have to dispose of this yourself because we can't afford it.
That's,
I think another option that we have is there are a few guys around town, I could name 4 or 5 of them, that are willing to take log material. That would be, if we contacted them and let them know that it's hauled once, even if we had to haul it a little bit of distance from town, wouldn't that be a savings for us?
potentially. I mean, I think it would. You know,
$4
when we
a gallon is
grind,
getting a little spendy.
Well,
You
that's
just-
a long ways.
I think what you gotta look at is the grinding process too is I'm wanting to say we spent about, let's just say, I don't think it was a full 2,000 this year, maybe 1,200 to 15, maybe 1,500, 1,700, I'd have to look. It doesn't take long for our staff and to accumulate that, or our equipment to get right there and accumulate that or go exceed that, to where what's gonna be cheaper, is it gonna be cheaper to, well, we know what the revenue that we got, we're limited at this point, but it's just a time issue as much as anything as well. And I'm not arguing any fact. I think there are some guys in town that definitely would want some firewood. I think there's, a few of them.
Well, I would say that if there's 4 or 5 guys in town that would take logs, we need to know who they are, so we can have them on a list and call them when we have stuff
Right.
to go, ready to go.
The 3 that come to mind would be Jim Wapshaw, Terry Pandle, and the guy who lives on Hamilton's farm just around.
Buck Knife.
What's his
Buck
name? Buck Knife.
And then,
Yep,
I've been giving him some of the bigger ones.
yep. And you've got some guys that live, Cheney.
Cheney.
Some. Boy, as much of that stuff as we can get rid of,
Absolutely.
when it's on the truck. Let's do it.
Or maybe one of them could come to the site where they're cutting, say,
That'd be
"Need
better,
this,
yeah.
come get it, it's right here."
We're
Yes.
giving it to them.
Yeah.
Can we donate it into the campgrounds, or is that not allowed? Do we,
You could talk to Jason Gooderman, but I don't think you'd get the state on board with that. 'Cause
do they
make a little
charge
money.
out there? I don't know, I'm not
Well,
a camper.
what it is the guy who runs the concession out there, he
He
sells, okay? Now, he might be interested in some of that to take in, I don't know where he gets this.
I think he buys from some of these guys that are processing.
Okay,
I just basically wanted you aware, and I know you guys know, obviously we have limited funding, but we also have we have 3-man street department and, 3 part-time people out at the compost site sharing some hours, and they'll get to a point, hopefully that it's not taking up so much time that we're lacking in other things that we're trying to get accomplished as well. That's.
Well, and the piles grow every
Yeah.
day, we're not burning,
Yeah.
and we don't have funds to just grind endlessly, so.
Right.
We can just start giving it serious thought.
Yeah.
And as
Sounds
far
like
as
you-
the twigs, as far as the twigs go, there maybe have to be a time for some limited burning.
Small, hot fires.
Quick burning.
Yeah, and then, so if you have people to take the logs and you're gonna burn the twigs, then what are you left with? Not much.
Not much.
Bigger branches maybe.
Yeah.
So,
But
Which
I
we
mean,
can chip.
Which we can chip.
we can chip.
Yeah, the biggest struggle will be the combined material that's brought in by a citizen that brings it
Yeah.
in one load.
Right.
It's packed together and it's hard to separate.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
And the unforeseens, like the storm.
The storm
you
stuff
know.
that piles up. This last one really, I mean, evergreens were the ones worst hit, as everybody knew, and cemetery looked like it'd been hit with mortar shells again. But it wasn't just the cemetery, there's a lot of people in town lost some trees and stuff, so. But anyway, we do have a huge accumulation, and if we could get a start from scratch, maybe after July 1st type thing, it would sure help us to try to get one grinding in if we possibly could, just to get rid of it all and start with a cleaning, so to speak, and try to organize, I guess.
But bottom line, we need to find somewhere we can burn. I mean.
That'd be the ultimate goal. I think that's our ultimate goal.
Have we advertised that? I mean, how do you go about that, finding somebody that would, or finding some place to burn it?
We have not advertised it.
No.
That's an option, I guess.
So we're gonna move to an acreage here pretty quick.
Okay, we could all help haul it.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah. There was don't think it didn't cross my mind once, actually, 'cause I was thinking that at one time, and I was just like, I only have just a few acres, and it's just like, it's my understanding that where I wanted to do it, the farmer is now, has acquired a little bit more than.
so you need direction tonight on what to do with this existing lot.
I think we're just having conversation. I don't necessarily need any direction. We're gonna try to do our best to start sorting. I just don't want any expectations that everything's gonna be just disappeared here before too long, because it's not. What I'd like to do is just to have, maybe get a consensus on, is it a thought process that after July 1st, maybe I could see if I could schedule T&W Grinding to come in and say, hey guys, I need some help, come in and hit me an extra time this season. Because they have a pretty strict schedule too, and those grinders are hard to come by, not just everybody has those. So they may tell me, Doug, you're gonna have to wait. So, but if I call now and maybe start putting something in the works, I'd sure like to secure a consensus that would be okay, I guess.
We have a pretty large pile of logs there right now.
We do,
Correct.
we do.
Are they quality enough that if one of these guys that burns wood, maybe
James already-
we schedule a Saturday
Yeah.
morning and
Wash
have an
shop.
end loader there and
We've
have them
already-
come and
yeah.
load them and take them out?
We've already let Wabshaw cut some, didn't we?
He got 2 loads already, took home.
Yeah, we've been trying to give it away.
Yeah, couldn't we even open that up,
Yeah,
get that
come and
out
get
there
it.
and, yeah, schedule a Saturday like Dick said, and
Come get it.
And
First
see-
come, first serve, just take it and go.
right time of
I
the
don't
year.
care.
Well, what about even having a day, have an unloader there so people don't have to sit there and cut, they just load and go.
We could do
We were
that.
there for 2 or 3 hours and get that pile cleaned up.
We can do that. And that pile's pretty minor compared to this other pile we got, the big mess. But there's some good logs to the rear, basically it'd be to the east of the old salt shed. So,
If we do grind, like like Doug said, do it after July 1st as part of next year's budget. It's not budgeted for, it's gonna have to, we'll have to see how it affects the overall budget. But the two other major issues are, I mentioned burning. Is that something that the council is gonna make a decision on, to go back to burning twigs in small batches more frequently, that burn and be done, and there's no chance of reignition, you know, and having the issue of that coming up? Or, and if we do go down that road, I think we need to bring in the neighbors, let them know that that's being considered, so they're knowing before it would happen. And also addressing the 50 cents, that needs to be increased. So.
I did have one question that was totally unrelated. A person outside the city limits called to see if they could pick up compost.
We don't allow that. That's one thing we haven't allowed in the past. The only time we've typically allowed that in the past is years ago, before our compost was really good, which before we grinded it every year and stuff, we couldn't give it away. And now we typically can go through a pretty big pile pretty quick. I would say a good time to address that maybe in the fall, if we have still a large accumulation this fall and somebody outside wants it. Otherwise, what we've done is it's been free, and a lot of citizens utilize it. A lot of them will pick up a 5-gallon bucket, but sometimes that doesn't put a huge dent in things. But we've had some years where projects have taken place, like the one up on Armory Lane. They did a rain garden. They used, maybe 20 loads one year. The school takes quite a few loads every year, spring and fall. You know, we've kept it inside the city limits so far. That doesn't mean maybe at the end of the season is typically how we would do something like that. And if you want to change that philosophy, we can change that philosophy. That's just what we've done in the past.
Well, this particular person said he'd be willing to pay for it. He's not paying his 50 cents in.
How much does he want?
It wasn't a lot.
Meat ton, truckload, I mean.
Pickup load.
Oh,
Pickup load.
It's not going to put a huge dent in it. If that's what you'd like to
I
do,
don't know
we
how you
could.
establish a price or value, but I know that we had ran into that one other time. In fact, we had a couple of citizens complain. One of them was from my ward because they went out there to get some and it was gone.
We had ran out.
I wondered if we ever run
Yeah.
out.
We have. It's been a while, but we have.
I went out there and there hadn't been.
I don't care out there right now.
That's less I have to do, so that doesn't bother me.
Doug, do you have what you need, or?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for your time and understanding. It just, we want to remedy it too, you know, we really do.
We have a huge amount. Is there a reason why we couldn't just say for a pickup load for a non-resident, it's a certain price? $25. Load your own and go.
Is this the same pile of fill that is by the end of the season gone by our
Sometimes,
local residents?
not always. Last year it wasn't. I don't think the last 2 years we've gone through it all. I think 3 years ago was the year that we just blew through, I think, all of it, if I remember right.
I suppose we do that, and it's gone, it's gone.
And early on in the season is when most of that happens.
Guess we put that money into a fund too.
Spring and fall is typically the best time for it. People will, you know, blend it in with their gardens in the spring, and then in the fall, they'll use it and put it over nutrients for the winter, for the lawns.
That's something that needs council action. Yes.
Anybody have a problem? Consensus is good enough? Yeah.
All right, I'll have Robbie make a sheet up too. We can actually advertise it. Okay, thank you.
For everyone?
How are we doing this evening?
Good.
Good. Just wanted to touch base. Pool season's coming rapidly as we stand here. We open up this Saturday, weather permitting. Right now they're calling for the upper 50s, so opening day, if that's the case, will be on Sunday when it's supposed to be in the 70s. But we will open this weekend. If it's Saturday or if it's Sunday, or Sundays they're calling for a little bit of rain again, it could be Monday. But we're going to open one of those 3 days, weather permitting. I wasn't able to be here. I apologize. I had my conference track meet rescheduled for the meeting of the 6th when I was supposed to come here and give you an update on where I was sitting with the assistant manager position and my thoughts on raises and all that other stuff. Once again, I apologize for my absence. I sent Ron and Doug a letter, which is in front of you, with my ideas and thoughts, with what I was thinking. As far as raises for the guards that are coming back, what we've done in the past was the 10 cents raise. I would ask for that again for those guards that are coming back. I think it's at least worth that 10 cents, but I know we're looking. But I would ask for those that are returning that they would be able to receive that 10 cents that we've been giving annually since the pool opened, once again in 2011. For myself, I would recommend, or I'm asking for a 25-cent raise, which is roughly about 2% for cost of living and everything else. I have hired an assistant manager. We're in the process of finalizing the paperwork. He's going to be coming in tomorrow and meeting with Ron and Doug to finish up that paperwork and get the rest of that process done. So I'm excited to have somebody on board. I have suggested that we pay them the $9 an hour that we paid our assistant manager that first year that we opened. So those are the dollar amounts that, I guess, as far as increases or money that I'm asking or seeking. The other change that I would like to make would be for the swim team coaches. I'd like to make it a salary versus an hourly wage. There's a list of things here of why, but my whole goal is to teach a life lesson. When you go into coaching at the high school level or the middle school level, or if it's not volunteer, you're not getting paid hourly. You're there for the kids. You're not there for the dollar amount. It doesn't matter how much time you put in. If you put in 1 hour, if you put in 150 hours in that month-long season, the outcomes there is to be for the kids. That's what I want it to be about, and I pushing the pencil in the numbers. We're going to save a little bit of money doing this, but at the same time, it might improve the quality that we have, because their time is going to be spent more focused on how we're going to plan what we're going to do for practice and everything else as far as getting the meets and stuff prepared. People who, get paid hourly, sometimes work at a slower pace or aren't always as productive. And I know that I'm speaking as of this because, not just because I get paid hourly right now, but as a coach. I mean, I put in just as much time as a coach from Hampton as I do coaching at Cal. The pay difference is substantially different just because of the size of the district. But it doesn't mean that we don't put in that time. So that's what I want these kids to understand and take away from being a coach. And I think the rate that we have at $400 for the head coach and $300 for the assistant coach is a fair rate. It's not gouging them, or they're not going to miss a lot out of their pocket. Roughly, we paid the head coach $9 an hour. She put in 50-plus hours last season, so it's right around the same dollar amount. Is there any questions in regards to that?
So, Brian, your 2012 wage was $11, so you're asking for 11 a quarter?
Correct.
And for the coaches to go for salary?
Right.
And the assistant manager at $9 an hour?
Correct.
Okay.
And then a 10-cent raise for those returning.
Yeah, which we've done that every year.
Right. But just making sure that's okay.
I think when we discussed this last time, I think everybody was on board with all of that. I think the only question that we had was, the question had come up whether or not to make aquatic center manager and assistant manager salary as well. I think that was the only question we had left hanging. I think everybody.
And I talked to it with Brad a little bit, and I haven't had done a lot of research on that. I think that if we want to look at something like that, it should maybe be something to talk about for next year, where I can talk to other aquatic centers and just in the interest of time, I would hope that we would consider just going with hourly again until we have a chance to. But it's up to the council, I guess.
Right. I myself wouldn't have a problem with going with the hourly wage.
Brad, have you had a chance to talk to the other coaches and present that possible proposal for a salary?
Yes, I
what
talked.
Was their thought process?
They're open to the idea. Once again, El Scheidman's going to be the head coach, and Blake Brown's going to be the assistant coach for the swim team. I presented this to them last year, and something that I was looking at going towards this year, and I gave them the same reasons. They understand. Are they happy about it? I don't know. They didn't really express, oh yeah, that's a great idea, or but I mean, they were on board with the idea, just for the fact that I think they understand the process and what's trying to be learned from this information or from this experience.
I think it's fine that you're putting them on salary. Like way back when I was manager and we had swim team, it was salary. I was a little surprised they went hourly with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I mean, the biggest time, I mean, say they have 30 days, because it's usually the month of June and goes a little bit into July. You go 5 days a week. It's an hour of practice, Monday through Friday, unless you have a meet. They spend roughly about 5 hours with travel and meet and everything for the meets that they travel to. They take their own vehicles. They do all the work with orchestrating with parents to get everybody there. So, I mean, the city doesn't reimburse them for travel or anything like that, or haven't in the past, I should say. So, like I said, I just, if we can make it a way to, like you said, I mean, if, I don't know, I guess it's up to you guys, but I guess you heard my ideas and why I want to do it the way I want to do it. But if you guys have other ideas, I mean, I'm more open to anybody's suggestions or which way you guys want to go with it. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of why I want that change to take place.
Everybody okay with that proposal?
I think it sounds like a good idea.
Okay. How about the proposals for manager and assistant manager too? Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Anything else?
No, unless you guys have any other questions.
I'm just gonna say, we'll have this, a motion item on the council agenda for Thursday for these wages. Okay?
Very good. Thanks, Brad.
I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Good luck with your opening.
Hey, once this week is over, life gets better.
Next is discussion of installation of drinking fountain at tennis courts.
Yeah, we had a request from the tennis coach, who I think is in attendance tonight.
Well, I'd like to say before we get started, though, I feel kind of guilty in talking about this since, Ron didn't get his. So I don't even know.
Oh, I thought if we could move that one down.
I've been thinking about this all day, and actually, I just want to know if I'm comfortable.
Well, it should have maybe been Progress Park rather than tennis
Oh,
courts.
sorry.
Because I talked with Doug about the possibility, and this came from tennis players that were dying of thirst on that one hot day we had.
They did that?
Literally almost dropped over. I brought a cooler of water down for them. It was girls. But there, years ago there was a
There was one down by the
fountain
ball.
that was, I think, vandalized over and over again.
That's the only thing that worries me.
Yeah.
See,
Right.
we remember like the one we had downtown here, that was, every time you turn around, they were busting in.
Well, what idea did you have where to put it?
Actually, the idea we had where to put it would be the closest to the water main that serves the pool. We can tap onto that main. It would be just to the west of the skateboard park, actually, a little ways. The ADA one we put in at Van Shell here a couple years ago, I think we had about $2,500 in that one. So, and that was, and I think if we do another one, I think it, you know, we're gonna probably wanna make it, you know, ADA compliant as well. But we do have a good place to put one.
Is there a drinking fountain at the concession stand at the Bubble Diamond?
I don't know, I don't have any kids in Little League.
No?
Not that I remember.
There's a faucet, but there's not a drinking fountain.
See, what won't be so bad if we didn't have it is that once the pool's open, the concession stand will be open, so you could go buy some bottled water. Or we ended up like that, we just would bring our own prior to that. And plus what, the baseball concession will be open also, well, during games. Just the thought of if we wanted to try it again.
I guess I have a question here. If we've got money for a drinking fountain, perhaps we should also have money for cameras.
Yeah,
We just
haven't,
blew off the chief when somebody was doing a safety issue for water.
yeah, we haven't
I'm not
budgeted for a
We
water
didn't blow
fountain.
the chief off.
I'm not asking for the water
I think
fountain.
we did, you know, and I think that's something that's as important too.
Well, I think it's more than just the cameras in this whole situation though.
I'll just say we blew Ron off. No.
Well, you blew on a long time ago.
Yeah, so.
I thought we were getting prices on cameras.
Oh, we are, but.
Okay, we didn't blow them off then.
Yeah, this will be the second time we got prices on cameras, so.
I know we still have prices, maybe they're still good on the first one we got.
8,000.
Anyway, just bring it up. On that. We don't have to.
Yeah, and I would just remind everyone, we have not budgeted for a drinking fountain either, so.
What about putting them in water, not, excuse me, but can we put any type of machine, vending machine in that area, since the park is utilized quite a bit for the public, or is that not, do you have to pay rental fees, or, I don't know anything about it, I just.
I don't know, I guess I've never dealt with a vending machine, so I'm not sure.
We could ask Steve Havlin, because he put one down at the trailer park.
Yeah, but I had a little experience with that, was Come and Go. And yeah, they Come and Go bought the machine, they then had to buy the pop, okay? They would service it, okay? But then you still got the added hassle of counting the money every so often and doing away with it, and and there is a lot of vandalism to a vending machine.
It depends on which company you go with.
Pepsi is, we had our most success with Pepsi, but Coke does give a good deal.
I've got two different companies I work with. One, they collect all the money, they do everything, they fill it, everything. But then Pepsi, we own the machine. No, I don't own that machine. But we have to fill it and collect the money. So it depends on which company you go with.
Dr. Pepper, I think, is the one that does all that, isn't it?
Yep. Yep, Dr. Pepper will do that.
But the problems with Dr. Pepper when I was involved is that their rates were a little different. But I don't know how it is now.
I know at one point in time, they used to always have a machine outside of the Ball Diamond concession stand during the summer anyway. I don't know if that's kind of a seasonal thing or what, but.
Well, I think though, especially with the pool going, you don't want to detract from the vendors having a vending machine down there. I think it needs to try and get it through your swimming pool. And as far as the water fountain goes, yeah, but I don't want to see it get vandalized like it did in the past.
It was members of the tennis team that brought it up, and I explained past history because I was concerned, and I'm not so sure it would be vandalized. I said, well, we would talk to Doug and brought it up to see what the council thought.
Yeah, if he's got a safe spot where he thinks it's going to be fine, I don't have a problem with it.
Do you think cost would be similar, Doug?
I think it'd be about $2,500.
That's probably gone up since then.
It might have.
What kind of a style is that, Doug, that's that expensive? You can send.
That one, the one up at Van Shell is, it's kind of made out of some concrete and rock, kind of a washed
Aggregate
rock
look.
type look, yeah.
But it's styled so a wheelchair can pull right up to it.
Yeah, kind of curves up and, They have other types, they may have some cheaper ones, but a lot, you can look inside like even in institutional magazines where they'll put them inside prisons and different things too that look semi-tamper resistant, which is something we, I mean, it doesn't mean it's gonna look like that, it just means that it's tamper resistant. I think that'd be, if we were to go with one, we would want to go with that style. Something that's, because basically we set a cone structure with a valve, with a real heavy casting lid. We can even put a lock on that, so that way we can turn it on and off and keep it winterized. And then it also has to drain back, you know, for winterization in the winter time. So there's a little bit to them, but not too much. And then of course, you know, excavating down 6 foot and tapping the line on and stuff. But that's pretty reasonable. I don't think we need to run it very far.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to pursue this or what?
I guess I'd be in favor of Doug looking for the least expensive but tamper-proof water fountain that would be available, and see if there's a way to substantially reduce that cost. And maybe there isn't.
We'll sure try. We're no part of it. I mean, $300-400 to get the excavating done, but then after that, it's, I don't know.
And a park fountain, this is not focused for the tennis courts, it's focused for the park.
For the full park. Yes, sir.
Nothing like this was ever in the original proposals for Progress Park, was it, that we deleted somehow or another?
Well, we had a little discussion. You know, we did discuss it as a potential, and, you know, at the time, if you remember right, we had to go back because we were trying to cut costs.
Cut costs, that's right.
Yeah, so.
So we'll look into prices.
Yep.
Discussion of 2080 intergovernmental agreement for dispatching. I know Ron and Dick attended the supervisors meeting this morning. And Diane. Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm afraid to speak here. I felt we had a great session this morning. The three of us, Ron and Diane Lai, attended, as we did last week. And Robbie wished she had stayed because she was there last week for the supervisors meeting also. At the end of last week, there was no budging from one of the supervisors as far as any kind of additional credit for being a long-term employee. Absolutely none. But there was discussion that identified very clearly that it was the city that was giving some extra benefits to these employees, or helping keep a few of the benefits, half the vacation pay. So there was thought process that went on during the week, and the discussion that opened up today. It was pretty firm at the beginning that no credit for any kind of seniority should be given, but there was real support from one of the supervisors, and as we all discussed, where we ended up with both supervisors agreeing that they would support was the diagram, the columns that you see on the right-hand side of that page. Currently, Wilma has 4 years of service with us and 5 weeks vacation. And with the proposal that both the supervisors said they would support, it would bump her from 0 weeks of vacation to 3, because she would come in, if you look on your yellow sheet that we had, she would come in effectively as a 11th year employee of the county, which gives her 3 weeks of vacation pay. If she stayed until her 15th year, she would get another week. Then she would fall right in line with that same chart. Jeannie Hodge, who has 22 years of service, would fall into that, again, on that same chart. She would fall in as a 6-year county employee, and she would have 2 years of vacation from the get-go.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, I'm sorry. And after her seventh year, so 1 year later, she would be bumped up to 3 weeks. And Jody, who's a 9-year employee, would actually start out with 2 weeks. And when she would reach her 8th anniversary, she would start as a 3-year employee with the county. When she reached her 8th anniversary, she would then go to 3 weeks. And the pattern would be true for Nancy. So essentially what it's saying is that right now, the offer on the table of her support showing some compromise from the supervisors is that Willie would end up with 3 weeks of vacation right now. And Jeannie and Jody 2, and Nancy 1, as opposed to 0 that was on the table.
This would be in addition to what the city has already agreed to kick in for transfer.
Yes, correct. This is coming from, well, ultimately it comes from the Emergency Management Commission.
Right.
And as we talked, there was an air of certainly of unison around the room that trying to get through this so that it could be in place by September 1st was a real concern. Thinking the overall benefit to the county, the overall service to the county is better if we move the dispatch.
And the service to the people that worked on it for all these years?
It's a compromise, yes.
It's a compromise.
Definitely a compromise.
That I don't think I could live with. These people work for the county the same time they work for the city. We each kicked in monies to help pay their salary. I feel that they should go in with what they had. And if the supervisors want to change it, then you go through the collective bargaining process that exists. And if they don't want to do that, then maybe they should turn it into a dance hall, because they don't seem to be interested in turning it into what it was designed to be.
You know, one idea might be, and quite frankly, the fact that you were able to get a supervisor to budge to come this far, I think is nothing short of a miracle. But one idea, might be for the council to have a motion on Thursday's meeting, passing exactly what you want, and you send that to them in an agreement form. I mean, if this isn't what you're looking for, I mean, we could, you can pass something along those lines, or you can pass something that spells out exactly what you're looking for.
Well,
and you can send that to them and let them deny it if that's not what they wanted. I mean,
right. But what I'm thinking is, if this were me, and I'm sitting there with 22 years, that's a slap in the face. Because I can tell you right now, she can go up to Mason City and make twice this much.
True. Well, I assume, I don't know that, but
They're just as hard, they're looking for dispatchers just as hard as we do. Because it's not a fun job.
Didn't Sarah Gordo go through this same thing?
Yes.
And didn't they allow them to
Keep everything.
Keep everything?
Yep.
So there is precedence that way.
Yep.
And in that situation, were they guaranteed their job when this all took place?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
That's I agree with you, Steve. I think that, we might have to look at some type of compromise. This to me, no.
Not yet.
But my big, besides the fact they deserve all this, I want it guaranteed that they have their job, because like I said before, if they're not doing the right job, if they weren't doing a good job here, then
They should have been dismissed a long time ago.
that's the point that I don't, I'll be honest with you, to me, I don't get it.
No, I
I
don't
am just
either.
like totally lost on
To
that.
me, this thing should have been a no-brainer from the beginning.
But I think that would send a good message. In my opinion, I think that would send a good message.
Then you have publicly passed an agreement that, hey, this is what we're offering. You can take it or leave it. And ultimately, I think both entities agree that the end goal is important. It's been talked about for years. It would be a shame to see it fall apart because they couldn't come together on the transition.
And I'm going to tell you, the public sentiment that I've received over this is heavily in favor of having dispatchers keep everything they got.
well, the move that Sean's suggesting is the right move. If this is not appropriate or have the consensus of what we're feeling here, there is one more hurdle that has to go through. It does have to be passed by the Emergency Management Commission also. So there's a third entity that whatever is brought forward. But bringing something forward is the right thing. You guys have been working on this forever. And as you say, it was odd to even see you come this far. But moving forward, I think is important. With some sort of proposal for them to turn down.
Hopefully accept.
Correct.
It's possible.
Correct.
Hopefully accept,
Yeah.
you know. But thanks for the update.
Okay, for Thursday, what direction would you like, what would you like to have on the agenda of the agreement? That they shall be hired as employees?
Yes.
I mean, I need to, and then,
Have
100% seniority transfer.
retaining all the seniority and wages.
You got two quiet council members over there. Thoughts?
I got plenty of thoughts, you know that. I think that in doing the right thing for the employees is one thing, caring about what the union cares, I could care less
No,
what they
that's
think.
not what I meant.
So this grievance crap that we talk about, worried about the union, who cares what they think? When have they done you any favors? In fact, they've been more of a thorn than they have ever any plus. But when it comes down to dealing with personnel, we have no guarantee that they're gonna get their job. So you could get full rights and they still couldn't get hired. So to me, that's more important is getting the job than necessarily all the benefits.
That's right.
Because they can still shut it down.
Excuse me, that's where I
So
was
I
saying, we
could
have
live
to
with-
compromise.
I could live with this if I knew that they were getting their job. That would be my position.
At that meeting last week, they were talking about, or maybe it was today, I don't remember, that somebody could come in ahead of them on seniority, or not seniority, but the equal or better experience.
Right.
Would that,
That's only if we enter into an agreement where the agreement states that the employees shall get preference.
okay.
That's
So-
no guarantee. If the wording says that these employees shall be hired, then that's different. They shall be, and there's no other option.
So we can change that part of it yet?
Sure.
Okay.
What was the comment about military, there was a comment about military preference.
Veterans preference.
Veterans
Right.
preference.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they still, that
They
didn't.
still have to have, if you have a veteran who has equal or better experience, then you have to give preference to the veteran.
Right, but it has to be equal or better.
It's gotta be
experience.
equal or better.
That's if you're having an application process and openings.
But you're not, so.
But if they enter into an agreement where they say these employees shall transfer over, there's no hiring, there's no taking applications process. And I'm not a lawyer, but
Right.
that's the assumption the parties would be under, is that these employees are moving from city to county.
In fact, when say postal is a great example of that. If they're doing a lateral transfer, no veteran's preference ever comes into play. The only time they're doing that is when they're doing a new hire off the street.
Craig, I would agree with you. If that clause was in there that they shall be hired, I could support this proposal.
Yeah, and bear in mind, this is nothing against the employees, I'm just saying that, to me, that's the solid piece of the rock that I would like to see, that they got their jobs. These folks did nothing wrong. That was exactly right. If they weren't competent, we should have fired them a long time ago. But we haven't. We've kept these people here for 40 years, 22 years, 9 years, and we haven't made this less than a year. Got no reason not to keep them. I think they're good employees.
And we owe them, and I think one of you gentlemen made the comment last time, we owe them that support. As a council, I believe that they should be guaranteed their job.
They should be guaranteed a job, and they should still have their seniority and their vacation. They earned it.
This is a start.
This is, yeah. But I agree with Ron, I think if you, that, we just went 100%, and that we want them to have everything that they have now, and that's just a good message to send, and they know where we stand, and we go from there.
then last thing on the agenda is to acknowledge final payment to Iowa DOT for Highway 65 construction project.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I don't have any handouts or anything, but we got the final invoice for 86,000 and some change, and it'll be the final payment to the DOT for the construction project. They had to go through months and months of the auditing procedures, working with, going through the DOT and contractors and their records. So anyway, final payment will be in the agenda for Thursday.
Anybody have anything to add? Yeah, that's.
Just wanted to let you know, June 15th date's coming around the corner for the Progress Park, the triathlon, and all the events going on down there. There will be a road closure request from the Wellness Coalition. They would like to close First Street Northwest from about 7 a.m. till noon. So they kind of decrease a little bit of the traffic flow that's going to happen down in that area. For the triathlon, there's going to be some streets crossed and different things, and they're going to start actually on First Street, down by the bridge, by Progress Park, and that's going to be the starting point. And anyway, then secondly, they were looking at closing part of the lower parking lot too for part of the day for those events as well, and that information will be in this upcoming meeting. So I just wanted to give you guys the heads up on it a little bit. So.
Anything else? Okay. Adjourned, 7:09.